Aloha, friends, and welcome to this edition of the Radio and Television Business Report InFOCUS video podcast. Where the heck am I? I'm in Kahului, Hawaii, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I started my tenure, if you will, as the editor-in-chief of the Radio and Television Business Report by interviewing Chuck Bergson, the Chief Executive Officer of Pacific Media Group. Here we are nearly 1 decade later to kind of check in and see what's going on for his radio stations, MauiNow.com, and an operation that now includes stations in all of the Hawaiian Islands. They've been through a lot. They've been through floods, they've been through fires, and let's check in to see just how this operation is going. Stand by.
Want to stand out online? Get your .fm domain. Perfect for streaming your music, building your social community, hosting your podcast, or broadcasting your brand. .fm. It's your online destination. Get yours today at www.get.fm.
So we're here with Mr. Chuck Bergson, and he is the president and CEO of Pacific Media Group. We interviewed him in August of 2016. And as we said in the intro, a lot has happened. And we want to start here in Maui, which is the home offices for a group that has pretty much extended itself across the Hawaiian Islands. Talk a little bit about what's happening here, because you have a very dynamic marketplace that's been through floods. You had the Lahaina fires. We were in Lahaina on Sunday just to kind of see for ourselves the starting to come back situation. However, starting to come back does not mean we're back.
Yes.
It's good to see that there are more tourists here than we thought. But what does that mean for the advertising environment, the environment for your stations, and just the overall marketplace for you?
Right. Well, it's about all about finding the sweet spot, and when business is too good, you have advertisers that will tell you, I can't handle the business that I have, so I don't need to advertise. You don't want business to be too bad, because then they're trying to find out and where they can cut, and usually advertising is one of those things that a lot of businesses don't really understand the value and the importance of it, especially when times are tough. So finding the sweet spot where it's not, it's what's that, it's not too hot, not too cold, just right. So that's kind of what we like to see, and we're kind of in that spot here on Maui right now. It's a pretty good place to be. There's money that will be coming into and flowing into the island as houses get rebuilt and businesses get rebuilt, and so that's starting to happen. The visitors are here, not in the same numbers as they were, even pre-COVID. The numbers were. You could feel it on the island. The heaviness and the volume of visitors was pretty heavy in terms of traffic, which in our business we like, right? We like people in their cars because they're listening to the radio.
Right.
So that's why I always tell people, the silver lining, behind the traffic is it's good for radio. But so all the islands have their own little different nuances and business generators. But Maui's, in a reasonably good place. Of course, for us right now, we have the elections coming up, so that's a good thing for us. We have a mayoral election coming up, so the political dollars are starting to come in, and the PAC money are following that. So, yeah.
In terms of the dynamic in the local media marketplace, there's been a tremendous change in the last decade since we've been here, in that there is a Akamai Broadcasting, and they've done some major changes in terms of bringing a lot of content and a lot more choices to a radio dial that already had a lot of choices and not a lot of dollars to go around. So you have that operation, you have your own, you have the H Hawaii media stations. There's a lot of radio for this market, which has been through, as I said, a lot of challenges. So What does that mean in terms of your sales team going out there and perhaps doing things differently or just doing more of the same and hitting the pavement and you know just sending the message that look, we are listened to. You have Eastland ratings to provide data. What
Hmm.
does that story say?
Hmm. Well, for us, really, it boils down to relationships. We've been doing this, and I've been here for 36 years, and a lot of my team has been with me through all that time. So we've got solid community relationships and business relationships, and I think that's what really drives it. I tell people all the time, hey, I'm delighted that you're buying advertising, on the other stations. That means you believe in radio. That's all I care about. If you believe in radio, I can work with you. It's all about whose audience, we all have audience. It's a matter of which audience is the best suited for you to target. And maybe, you're having success there and you're ready to grow into
Hmm.
coming over. And I'd like to think that those other radio companies feel the same way, because I'm all about building up radio. Radio is not our competition. Our competition, in my mind, is big tech.
And it's funny that you say big tech. As I've spent the last week here, we've certainly listened to a lot of the radio stations on Maui. As we go up country, we're able to get the Oahu stations. And
Mhm.
in between, my brother in law has been listening to a lot of Pandora. And you're not going to take that away. However, I was very pleased to see that there was a large amount of radio listening
Mhm.
to your stations, to some of the other stations. As we were up country, we were listening to Crater 96 and High 93
Mhm.
and FM 100. So let's shift focus a little bit to Oahu because certainly Honolulu is the biggest of the rated markets.
Mhm.
In that marketplace, what are you finding in terms of advertiser response to radio compared to other media?
It's really competitive. Not it's a competitive marketplace over there in Honolulu. It's different in that way because you have the TV stations over there,
Hmm.
and so that makes it a little different. Yeah, there is no satellite radio, so that's a good thing. Um,
So
uh,
that Sirius XM button in the Toyota Tundra, that just doesn't work.
no,
So I'd have to like use my app. I have the app. I mean, not many people are using it, but
right.
that's a very different situation.
Very different situation. But I can, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I have people, on a regular basis, and I talk to them and I tell them what I do. They say, "Do people still listen to the radio?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, the numbers are still dominant for AM, FM radio. Still
Hmm.
dominates the audio experience and dominates the car. But it's a perception problem. People say, "Oh, what about Spotify?" Well, Spotify gets a small amount compared to what AM FM radio gets,
Hmm.
and but people's perception is that that it's much bigger than it is. And actually, I think it's the podcasting
Hmm.
that is taking bigger share. But everything I see and read and is that there's more audio being consumed. So the fact that podcasting is getting audio consumption doesn't mean radio is getting necessarily less. I think overall it is getting less, but not significantly less. I still think, and I know that AM FM radio still dominates the audio experience.
One last question for you, and it goes to, I guess, Maui Now and some of
Hmm.
the online news platforms that
Hmm.
you've been able to build out over the years.
Right.
And Maui Now, with all due respect, I think has done an exceptional job of bringing news and information to this community in ways that the local newspaper has not, and has forced them to pivot in some ways. There was Maui Time that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
There is now a monthly news publication that I've seen around town.
Hmm.
It's maybe 10 or 15 pages at most.
Right.
Um, what can you say about your websites and news portals and how that is building out new opportunities, which could include video?
Hmm. Well, I can tell you that we used radio and still use radio to leverage and build our online properties in Maui Now. So we use a lot of cross promotion, and again, that trust factor. Maui Now has, we've now been at it for quite some time, and we get, roughly 80% of the population will go to Maui Now, which is a huge number when you think about that.
Yeah.
No newspaper in the, at least in the last, 30, 40 years would have gotten even near to that kind of penetration in the marketplace. So that's pretty substantial and significant. We can't do all that we want to do because, frankly, we can't sell enough banner ads to hire all the journalists that we want to hire. So that's a challenge. But in terms of people's trust in what we do, they trust what we do, and that's why they come to it. There's others, some people get their news on social media, but the trust level is different on what's real and what's not real. And so I think those are just a couple of the things that have really helped us with becoming that news trusted source. And it's just time in the community.
Okay, last thing before we take a look around here and see the progress in the last decade with some of the station studios here. Is there one thing that you've learned over the years that makes this group unique? Or is there something that can be shared to operators on the mainland when it comes to what makes good, successful radio and makes it appealing to both the advertiser and the consumer?
Yeah, I think the main thing, and it's not a new thing at all, it's live and local. When you're live, you have live people on the air, and they live in the community, and you see them at the grocery store, and you see them at different events and hosting and emceeing and things like that. That's, to me, is really the beauty of what radio still represents. And as long as you have those local ties and commitment to the community, people, they'll tend to tune in because they want to know what's going on in their backyard.
All right.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
Okay, this is 98.3 The Jam, which is the top 40 station serving Maui. And I'm going on video because as I step down, I have to put this gem on camera. This is the very first board I ever used as a radio personality. Not this very board, but I could run this board right now if I needed to. This is really amazing because it just shows you the power of audio. You don't need new equipment to make something sound great, and that's exactly what they're doing right here. Look at this, Ericus. Gem. I love it.
Looking to amplify your brand? Get the .fm domain, the choice for streaming, social, podcast, and broadcast pros. Stand out. Stay relevant. Own your sound with a short, powerful .fm domain today. Visit www.get.fm and make waves in the digital world.
And that's pretty much everything that we wanted to share with you. It's always great to be able to visit local radio stations in various communities, and what a community to be in when you are in Maui and you have radio stations and all sorts of growth opportunities in the digital and print space across all of the Hawaiian Islands. So thank you to Chuck Bergson, CEO of Pacific Media Group, once again for inviting us to a visit. And this is the Radio and Television Business Report InFOCUS video podcast. It's presented by .fm, streaming social podcast to broadcast. Get a .fm domain name by heading over to get.fm today. Follow, and we'll see you next time.